Greetings, everyone. How are you? Very special night tonight. It's actually our wedding anniversary tonight. We have been married 26 years and together for 28 years.
Yes.
So when we're finished with you guys, I'm taking my gorgeous bride out for a lovely anniversary dinner. So thank you all for being here. This is the final session of the challenge. We hope that you've enjoyed going through what is obviously an introductory process to get you used to the concepts that we've now developed, over a quarter of a century of doing this work with couples. And it's very much outside, what our culture is used to. It's very much outside of what most people are used to when we start talking about conditioning. We start talking about the differences in men and women, and how truly different we actually are. And what's really sad is I was doing some research a little while ago about the differences, and I came across an article from the American Society of Psychiatry, and the article was actually saying that there are actually no gender differences and that we're equal. And they're absolutely right, we are equal, but we're so different in terms of what we actually need, aren't we?
Absolutely. And what I want from a relationship and what I need from a relationship is so different from what Brett needs. And even often, we will have a seminar and ask all the men a simple question, who likes a thank you? And every man puts his hand up. Men like us to thank them. It's just like, oh, thanks for that. And it means so much to them. For us, it doesn't. We don't need a thank you. But for a guy, it means so much. And it's made me realize that even now, I've always had businesses and I've always brought money in. But now I always say to Brett, look, thanks for that holiday, or thanks for dinner, or thanks for the movies. And he feels great. And I think we can, or thanks for working so hard for the family. And I think we can forget to say thank you.
Very true. So even tonight, Marie has just been looking after one of our businesses, and she's been in town, just come home. And she started telling me about some problem that occurred at work. And immediately, without thinking, I started to say, well, why did that happen? And of course, as a woman, all she's actually looking for is me to shut up and listen and not say anything at all. And those differences that come about, you can talk about, the different brain structures that we have and the different hormonal balances, etc. It doesn't really matter where they come from, because if we don't get them right, they just blow up into a communication problem that then makes us feel not loved.
And when you don't learn the differences, what happens is you end up wanting him to behave like a woman, or he wants me to behave like a man and just stick to the facts.
Yes.
So it's really interesting.
So another woman would just stand there and listen and nod the head and smile. And
she would say, oh, really? And what did he say? And then what did you do? And then what did you say?
Yeah.
Brett doesn't do any of that.
But we can learn to do that, because men are far more factual. So I just want to know the information. Well, what went wrong? Tell me the facts. I know how to fix it. And for a woman, she's not looking for that.
I know how to fix it.
She's already fixed it. She's looking to be able to express all her words and get those words out so that then she can relax. And these inherent differences create the relationship problems that most people experience. And they create then a feeling that, yes, we're talking, but we're actually not communicating. We're really not connecting. And even when you're out dating, when you first get together, yes, there are certain things that connect you, but this is where the conditioning comes in. Often we see people get stuck in a cycle of picking the wrong people to date. And when we're doing that, what's really coming up there is not so much the communication issues or differences, it's the patterning and the conditioning that's making you choose what you like rather than what is actually good for you. So it's very easy for women, as an example, to grow up with a father who's very much shut down, very much closed off. And hence she'll go and pick a guy who's exactly like that. and she'll keep picking men that are like that. So she's always experiencing men as shut down, closed off, really not caring or nurturing or being considerate of her in the relationship. And for women, whilst men like a thank you, women like to feel that we're being very considerate of them in terms of our decision making, in terms of discussions, in terms of what we're doing.
Absolutely.
Don't you?
Happy anniversary, Erica. It's her anniversary as well tomorrow.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. You're together for 21 years. Happy anniversary to you guys. So what I wanted to do tonight to illustrate the principles is ask one of you to volunteer, preferably a couple if you could, but we can work with a single, doesn't really matter, so that we can coach you on what's happening in your life and in that way demonstrate bit by bit all the principles that we've been talking about. So is there anybody that would like to unmute and volunteer?
Bravery resides in the heart. Come on.
Who would like to?
I hear somebody.
That's Erica.
Yes, please.
Hi, Erica.
No, we don't. I'm going, yes, we do.
Thank you. So, Erica, do you mind turning your screen on? Is that possible so we can see you as well?
Let me just, where am I?
If you move your mouse, you should be able to see left-hand
Sorry, bear with
corner.
me. Oh,
That's okay.
Yep, no problem. Take your time. In the left-hand corner, you should be able to see.
Okay. Sorry, I'm a bit dark. Let me turn the light on. Where Andy's on the iPad and I'm on the phone right now, but we're in the same room.
There we go.
Okay.
There's Erica.
That's
Okay.
Andy there. Say hello. And okay, I am all set.
Hi, Erica.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Oh, it's nice for you to see me.
It is. So, Erica, you guys have been together for 21 years.
21 years tomorrow, and we've been married for 11 years.
Wow, beautiful.
Fantastic. So, if you remember from the last live that we did, we spoke about the stages of the relationship that we go through. So, if you remember the stages, is like the honeymoon period, then there's the period where we're focused on, work and kids and all that sort of stuff. And then we go into the distraction period. And then we go into make or break. Where do you think you guys are at the moment?
I think, to be completely honest, since doing this, before we did this, from my experience, I think we will make a break.
Yeah. Okay.
That's where
That's fair. And I think it's sad when we get there, but it's also very common, Erica, to get to that place.
Yeah.
So where do you think you are now?
Sorry, what was that?
Where do you think you are now?
I think we're not make and break anymore. We're working together where I can really see Andy trying. Like he's obviously putting what he's learning into action. Hello. So I feel that he's more in his masculine compared to him being in his feminine, which obviously I feel that I really demasculated him and that I do that often.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously tried really hard not to do that. So yeah.
So what's the difference?
We're no longer make or break anymore. I think we're gonna make it.
Yeah, that's it. And with more skills, Erica will actually get a lot better. So rather than just going back into it being okay, with more skills, it'll get much better than it is currently. So what's the shift, do you think? What's different now after 5 days?
Learning the different communication styles that we have, and for me, it's been learning about that feminine and that masculine, and identifying, like that's been a big shift for me, like trying not to go into that masculine side of me, which I've been doing that a lot.
Yeah.
And I can see now Andy like stepping up a lot more to do the manly things that he needs to do, like, which is, it's good. And I know it's in there, but I feel really to blame for demasculating him. Is that the word?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it is the word.
And in all relationships, Erica, you'll find that it's always both. You know, that both always need to make a shift.
Mm-hmm.
And you either learn it in this relationship or you
Yeah.
learn it in it. But to have a successful relationship, there's skills that need to be learned.
Yeah. And the
one of
other
those
thing I
skills-
found is, sorry, the other thing I found is that I remember when we started this challenge, you said that obviously my parents' marriage and Andy's parents' marriage, it's a completely different ball game to what we face now compared to what they face. Completely different. So I go out a fair bit and I go out dancing, and that's my recharge. So I've got a transgender child and I've got an autistic child. And for me, it's really important. And when I started having trouble, my dad was the first thing he said, look, you need to stop going out because that's what's causing your problems. And I'm like, well, no, because I need that as a recharge. Like my glass is so full that I need to let go, and I dance and it's just me on the dance floor and nothing else matters. So they've got a completely different idea to how a marriage should be compared to obviously what we have. Because I always say to Andy, like, we're married, but my idea of marriage is not to live in each other's pockets, it's to travel through life, accepting each other as we are. But for them, they don't get that. They don't understand that.
You can have space in your togetherness, and it's
Yes.
important to have space in your togetherness. Can I ask you a question? When you are dancing, are you in your feminine or your masculine when you're doing that?
I think I'm in my feminine. Yeah, definitely my feminine. Yeah.
Okay, so the oxytocin then has a chance to rise, therefore it's going to make you feel good.
Yeah, like when I come back, I feel amazing. Like, it's just like it's me, and nothing else matters. No one else matters. It's just me. And Andy gets that. That I need that. So trying to explain to my parents that, look, we're okay and he's okay. Although there's been a few things that I've done that are kind of not okay. And I'll be the first to admit that. And like I said to Andy recently, like, if you don't like something that I've done, tell me then and there. Like, no use in bringing it up when you're shitty with me. Like, then and there. I don't like what you do.
We often talk about forbidden conversations, and they're a must-have in a relationship. You know, we need to be uncomfortable and have those forbidden conversations. But can I ask another question? Where is Andy today?
Where is he? He's actually helping with the little one. So you saw the little one is up still.
Right.
So he's actually stepped up and he's gone to make him another bottle, and he's getting him ready for bed. So and that's that. Although it's a usual thing, but it kind of became uncommon. But now, since we've been doing this, he's been stepping up. And because the reason why we started this challenge, this whole thing began because I expressed how I felt, that I am married and I've got kids and I've got, and I love him dearly, but I feel so lonely. Like, how can a married woman feel so lonely? Married with kids and just feel so lonely. And obviously, Brett, you'll probably understand, and a lot of the guys, like, he got pretty upset with that. But I said to him later, I'm like, the fact that I'm telling you how I feel, as your wife, I should be able to tell you whatever, everything and anything without fear of you getting upset. Obviously, that's hard because when he says things, I get upset as well. But that's
the female, Erica, that's the female expectation. But whenever a man hears something like that, immediately where a guy goes to is, I'm not making you happy, I've failed.
Yeah.
So he immediately takes it as criticism. So it takes training for men to learn to not take it as criticism, to actually understand that when a woman speaks, 99.9% of the time, she just wants to express her emotions. And when she expresses her emotions, then she won't feel lonely.
Yeah.
And for you to be able to rest into the feminine, one of the things it takes is to be able to break the conditioning that made you not be able to trust.
Yeah. And I don't know what that is. I'll be
And
really
that's
honest.
okay.
Like,
It's okay right now,
But the more work you do and the more clarity, the more you lift that vibration, all that untangles.
yeah.
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 yeah. So in terms
And-
of that, in terms of working on oneself, I think that I'm a little bit further than Andy is. Like, he's come a long way from when we've met, but I'm that little bit, a little bit more ahead than where he is. And I think I read with Jo as well that she feels exactly the same, that she's done a fair bit of work. So her partner, you know, I think that that's the thing. But you've explained this before. We've become that classic couple of, we are now on this big pile, and the carpet is like a mountain, because that's what we got used to. After last session where we discovered, you know, the Viking samurai or peacemakers, we are two peacemakers.
Right.
So a lot of things under the carpet.
A lot.
Oh,
you know, just to avoid. I lived for 8 years where my mentality was ignorance is bliss. What I don't need to know, I don't need to know it, and it doesn't affect me. But now, that ignorance, that, you know, isn't so much bliss, because there's shit that needs to be dealt with. And, you know, especially when we've got obviously 2 kids that need our support, shit needs to be dealt with. I don't want that for my kids. That's one thing that I've learned as well. I do not want my kids, especially with my transgender child, I don't want her to think that, you know, one, that you settle. Because for
I just want
me,
to go back, Erica, to something you said about you both, you know, where you're at to where he's at. Usually it's, well, most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, women intuitively know what's wrong in the kingdom, in the relationship with the kids, with the money, with the communication. So women intuitively know. And often women come and do our programs first. And then later they see a difference in the women, and then the men join them. And what happens is, let's just say, you know, you're here and you've done a lot of work, and your partner's here, and you come and do more work. Every time you shift and move, he will move. He may not move to where you are, but he will move. So if you move 3, he may move 1. If you move 6, he may move 3. But there is movement. So some people make the decision, oh, I'm not doing work because he's not going to do work, and it is a downhill run. So it's important you're doing the right thing. It doesn't matter who knows more than who. What matters is there's movement and you're moving. So well done.
And I agree with that, actually.
One of the basic rules, Erica, in any relationship, or in life, in fact, is you're either growing or you're dying.
Yeah.
So it's either growing and moving the relationship, because people say, oh, you know, we're just stagnant. We're just, you know, going through the motions. Well, actually, you're not. You're going downhill. You just don't recognize you're going downhill, because it's dying slowly, very slowly dying, but it is dying. So you've definitely made the right choice, like to inject some growth back into a relationship. So where do you think you need to go to from here?
I think more work on ourselves. I think the more that we understand ourselves and what we want, and I think that open communication, and thanks to you guys, I know it's only been 5 days, I think that's really, really worked for us, where we are now talking more about the things that need to be talked about. I think because this, obviously my perspective is that Andy gets that, okay, that I he now understands that I need to speak. Because obviously as a female, that's how I express myself.
Erica, what was happening before? Was he feeling like he couldn't make you happy? Is that where he was stuck
He
before?
feels that those words exactly came out of his mouth. Because I give you everything, I let you do whatever you want. You are never happy, quote unquote.
That is so common, Erica, for men. Like seriously, most of us guys feel that. It's like for a man, I'm doing all this stuff, but nothing I'm doing seems to.
Still not happy.
She's still unhappy. What do I need to do? Like, bend over backwards or?
And then when they keep trying, Erica, what they do next is they give up.
Yeah.
So
and I don't want him to give up. We had a really serious chat, where, look, do we want to be together? If we want to be together, then we need to put in the work. And you know what? Tonight, I'm very proud of my hubby. Tonight, Erica, it's 9 o'clock. Come on, we got to go. And usually it's me that's going, come on, there's a Zoom on, we've got to log in. No, he was the one, come on, we've got this thing on, we've got to do it. So that for Andy is massive, like massive.
Yeah. Good. So good that we're reaching the guys, because normally, even when we advertise, for the challenge, we advertise to women because they're obviously the ones that are more interested. We certainly hope to get the guys involved in it as well, but men are less inclined just because of our brain structure and what's, we said before, there's 5 language centers a woman has, and we're less inclined to be tuned in to emotion. But that doesn't mean we can't learn. Doesn't mean, as an example, there were studies done where they put glasses on men and women and track where their eyeballs were going. And women walk into a room and the very first thing they look at is everyone's faces, so they can read the emotion that's going on with everybody in the room. Mm-hmm. Then they go to the extremities of the body, then they go to the objects in the room, and then the room itself. Men walk in and they do exactly the opposite. They go to the walls and the room first. They go to the furniture, etc., that's in the room, the extremities of the body, and then they go to the face last.
And then the boobs.
We, as much as women, have the ability to read emotion and really understand, particularly our female partner, we understand and read her emotion, where she's really at. And over a period of time in learning that, what happens, Erica, is a number of things occur. First of all, you as a woman can tell that he's much more involved in the relationship, just as you said before, like where he's off, with the kids. And it's not the fact he hasn't done that before, but now you can feel his intent behind it.
He's looking rather sexy right now, Brett, I'll tell you.
I know.
Right.
Who ever thought making a baby's bottle would be sexy?
Total foreplay, right?
Men think, really?
Total foreplay.
And it's so true. Like, he looks hot when he does the dishes or stacks the dishwasher.
You better put him in an apron with jocks on or something like
that. No. Naked, Brett. Naked. Just the apron.
Naked, absolutely. Naked. Yeah, forget the jocks. Awesome. So it's so often it's not communication. When you can feel the intent, what then that does over a period of time, Erica, is it builds up trust.
Yeah.
Build up trust. So Marie knows that she can trust me to be there. That doesn't mean I'm there 100% of the time because I'm a human being, but there's enough unspoken language there in terms of my actions and my intent particularly, that she knows that I'm always going to be there for her. And that makes a huge difference because men are like, well, how come it's me that has to step up? How come, I have to do all the work here? How come I have to show up this way? Well, what happens is when I show up this way, she'll show up in that she'll give herself to me. And for women, that's scary. That's huge.
That's vulnerability.
But for a man to feel that from my partner, that she's giving all of herself to me, body, mind, and spirit, that's massive. That's a different relationship for a man completely, guys, to the ones that we witness with our fathers and the ones that we're normally used to. And for a woman, as I say, that's another big step. That's going well beyond what we're sort of dealing with in the 5-day challenge. But that's eventually where we get to. And then it becomes so rock solid.
It's your forever relationship.
Yeah. You just know it's never, ever going to break.
And then that's the gift you give the kids.
Yeah. And that's
we give them
huge.
the right model.
That is, that's massive.
They see you working it out and they learn the skills.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Same
and they
with,
see
with
not
Joe
even.
and Ricky, right?
Yeah,
Same with
not-
Joe and Ricky, in that the biggest gift they're going to get out of this is not just their relationship, but the fact that the kids can say, yes, mum and dad went through tough times, but you know what? They put in the work and they're going to come out the other end of it. And for them, that's going to give them hope that that's what they can have in their relationship. And that way, eventually, we change the entire culture. So we're no longer, 60% divorce. It'll be the other way around. It'll be 70% married and, 30 or 20% getting divorced.
I hope Andre comes back because I want to speak to him.
Oh, here we go. Come on, sit up.
Is he there?
I'll sit up.
Okay. So do you want to go on camera? Yeah, I'm going to get him on
That's
camera.
okay.
Oh, here we go. But they won't be able to hear you.
Okay.
Hey, buddy.
Hello.
There's Andy.
Well done. Congratulations on
Thank you.
finishing the challenge.
So, mate, just briefly, just share with us,
Mm.
over the 5 days, what have you noticed or what's different for you now?
I think mainly to listen, really listen to Erica. Erica's got us to say, really.
Yeah.
Before
Yeah.
was
Just
like,
that one skill alone makes a huge difference, Andy. Yeah.
Mm.
And Andy's being a typical guy here, right? Erica's been using all the words and
Yeah.
Andy's summarized the whole thing down to
One
one very
sentence.
short sentence.
yeah,
Well done, mate. I'm with you. I love it.
I like keeping
Perfect.
I think
simple.
when you realize too, as she's talking and talking and talking, you're not taking all that personally. You really get that the more words she gets out, the cortisol level goes down, the oxytocin level goes up, so you get a much more peaceful woman.
Yeah. And that's the other big benefit for the guys in that then she's a lot calmer. So our need for that peace in the relationship gets delivered when we step up. We can be there, we can listen, we can communicate, mostly non-verbally, actually. That's where the state and mastering that state comes in. So most of the state is the non-verbal communication that we can actually learn to do. And that produces massive change inside the relationship. And this is one of the, I guess, false beliefs that we've got about communication. And we think it's all about the words. Because for women, it is about the words, but in the relationship, it's a twofold yin and yang process. For her, it's about the words. For him, it's actually about using less words. It's actually about presence, giving her total presence. And when you do that, she can feel it, as you can see with Marie just then, right? That in itself produces a physiological reaction in her.
And you can actually feel it. And there's times with being in a seminar and Brett's doing that, and I actually can feel the oxytocin in my body rise. And then I feel vulnerable.
Which she doesn't want to feel
And
in
then I
front
don't
of a
want to
crowd.
feel that in front of everybody.
But
Wow.
it's those skills that are so necessary, not just for us, but to pass those skills onto our children as well. That's where it becomes essential. So Erica and Andres, sorry. Thank you so much for volunteering yourselves. That's been awesome. I'm sure everyone has gained a lot and learned a lot by just watching you guys.
And thank you, Andre, for letting us see your face, because that's
no problem.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good job, buddy.
Thank
Well
you.
done.
No worries. Thank you.
So I want to share our screen, and we're going to just quickly go through some of the slides that we've already shown you guys and just recap very briefly what we've been through in the 5-day challenge. So we've shown you the kingdom, And what we focused on in the challenge has really been the area of the relationship code. But there's so much more that we can cover in the temple in terms of the conditioning, in the boudoir, and in the treasury. And we cover those in our code event that we do live or we do virtual.
Because people's relationship with money is huge. It's a bit like the relationship with sex. You know, they throw so many problems in there, and that's what you need to untangle.
And when it comes to the treasury, it also points directly
I'm not sure I understand.
to security and safety. So when the treasury is solid, not just from an income point of view, but when it's solid from we've got other income coming in or we've got assets to back up what we're doing, even if that's, as I said before, with your own self-managed super fund, having that as a backup makes the kingdom itself, the relationship, the family feel very, very secure.
Because earning a wage isn't enough. It's what you do with that wage and what you learn to do with that wage that gets you comfortable.
Because in that area, we can get used to and conditioned just accepting 6 or 7% return on our super. It's once you understand the skills, similar to the skills that we've shown you here, it is just so simple to get 20%. So 3 times return without any great risk in doing so. So there are many funds out there that actually produce those returns that you could be investing in as an alternative to the fund you currently got your money with. Just simple things like that that are really essential. So we've talked about the conditioning and really in terms of the work that we do and the effectiveness of the work that we do in terms of restoring relationships and marriage, this is where the ball gets hit out of the park. It is in conditioning and how we've been conditioned to show up in certain ways across our life, but particularly here in communication.
And even how the way we're conditioned to handle our finances. And that's why we've got a holistic approach, because it's all interconnected.
Absolutely. So like we talked about, the conditioning comes from events that have happened to us. You know, in my case, Marie grew up in Northern Ireland, in Belfast, in the midst of what they like to call euphemistically, in a typical Irish way, the Troubles. It was, in fact, a civil war going on, and she grew up in the middle of a civil war. So some of those experiences conditioned you
absolutely
into being a Viking. So when she communicates, those experiences condition her to do that, and also condition her in terms of being able to trust me. When we were first in the relationship together, that was a big leap for her to overcome. So it's things like that from events that have happened in your lives that show up, not just in communication with us, but also show up in terms of how you deal with the heirs. It shows up in terms of how you parent your kids. You know, sometimes we're all a bit narky when it comes to the kids.
And with role models, you know, your parents did the best that they could. And so it's about taking the good that they've passed on, but the things that don't work for you, it's about realizing you can drop those.
Yeah. And we've all done it. I'm sure you've heard yourself, particularly talk to your kids, like you've heard your parents used to talk to you, and we shudder when it happens, right? You go, oh my God.
It's not like my mother.
Oh my God. So that counts as well. And then ultimately the culture, which is, you know, causing big problems in terms of the issues we've been talking about, men shutting down, women trying to get the words out, feeling unappreciated and unheard.
Yeah, women being everything to everybody is a real culture that women are doing now, and they're exhausted.
Yeah. So what we mean by the king, queen must rise for the kingdom to stand is that we, as we were just discussing with Erica then, we both have to grow. If you're not growing in the relationship, it may take years, but slowly you're dying. And one day, you know, like the beautiful Joe and Ricky and Erica and Andreas, suddenly you get to that period and it's make or break, and you wonder how the hell you got there, because it's not like you don't love each other, but somehow the communication and hence the flow of love. You know, we haven't even touched on the love languages and things like that that we could go into to explain how those things slow down or stop the flow of love between us. And to have that, you need communication, you need trust. People say like, oh, you know, I'm a loving person. Yes, you probably are. But one of the things I realized about my relationship with Marie, because we're about to do a post, you know, on our personal feeds about what we've learned over being together for 26 years. And one of the things I learned is that it was very easy for me to love Marie, much harder to let Marie's love into me and actually let myself feel it and trust her. That's a different ballgame. And often that conditioning stops us from doing that.
And people don't even know they do that.
And the only way you can grow is to do the work, is to dive into the cell, to dive into the temple and do the work in there and work out, okay, how can I grow as a person?
As you did over this 5 days.
Yeah, you guys have been awesome. And, you know, it's really interesting. Every time we do a challenge, you know, I think I mentioned this on the first one, we've got, I think, 160 odd people in the challenge. About half of those read the posts and about a quarter of them actually participate. And I find that really, really sad because obviously they came in it for a reason, but it's very easy when we aren't in the temple and we don't understand the forces inside ourselves. There is clearly a positive force in us and there is a negative one, and our lives get determined and the results we get determined by which force we listen to inside ourselves. Clearly, approximately half of the people are listening to the negative force because they don't even participate in the challenge, even though there was a reason why they enrolled in the first place that they want to deal with. So be aware that, you know, going down this path, it's an awesome path. We've been living it now for over 30 years.
And your relationship gets better and better every year. And you don't think that's possible, and it does. And it's, no matter what is happening in the world or with COVID or with work or business, it's a soft place to fall.
It is. So that's what we mean when we say by you conquer your inner world and nothing can conquer your outer. So often we think it's the skills that we need, but you can't implement the skills if you're shut down. I can't open up to Marie and listen if I'm still stuck in my conditioning where she can feel the block, even though I might be wanting to be there. If I'm actually not open and I haven't dealt with that, no matter what I'm doing, she's going to feel like it's not real, that I'm actually not there. So that's why it's so important to do the inner work. And often when we do, there's a bit of uncoupledness. You could see it with Andreas then, right? Oh, I don't really want to put my face out there on Facebook. Chill, bro. It's a private group. The only people that are ever going to see this video are the ones actually in the challenge. You know, no one else can get in. So there's always short-term pain to get a long-term gain, no matter what we do in life. If you want to get fit, it's going to feel painful initially.
If you want to have a forbidden conversation, especially for pacemakers,
especially if you're a guy,
it's short-term pain.
Yeah.
But you clear the air, you talk, you get past that, and the relationship has moved up. So short-term pain, long-term gain.
And in that area, that's probably more for the guys, because the girls are like, oh, forbidden conversation. Let's do it. I can't wait to get into this, get all my words out. The guys are like, oh my God. Do I have to sit through this?
Well, most people take the other way, long-term gain. So they take the easy way out and they suffer the consequences later.
Yeah. Yeah. So they'd rather not have the conversation right now and suffer long-term when the relationship breaks down, or, not deal with the treasury. And eventually there's problems in the relationship because the treasury hasn't been dealt with, or even in fitness and health, just ignore that. Let's just eat the food, drink the alcohol, do the stuff that we do, and ignore the long-term. But eventually in everything in life, it catches up with us. So that's why it's so important to realize that our patterns, whatever we started doing when we were little and we learned by conditioning, will power our actions the whole way through life. And this is where we've got to do the work, guys, to be able to break through. So it comes from events, and you have your own impression, masculine and feminine wise, what a man, a woman, and relationships actually are. And the one that I had didn't work. I got a divorce, and the pain of it was so much that I made a decision I never wanted to go through that again. So I put in a lot of work to change my model.
Because if we don't, we can finish this relationship and we'll just take the same pattern to the next person and run the same pattern. Hence why second marriages fail at 75%.
Yeah.
And then third marriages, they take the same pattern, and then I think it's 92% for third marriages. So the same pattern continues unless you stop and do the work.
Yeah. So as an example, my example was girls reject me. My belief was I had to make girls like me. But the pattern was I'd always choose women who rejected me. So it came from just one event. But what seems to happen for all of us is it starts with one event, and then we seem to attract other events that reinforce the belief.
And then it becomes habit.
And then it just gets locked in as a habit long term. It comes from role models. So if you're a lady and maybe you had a father who was very demanding, and you could get the belief that he didn't like me. So he could be the, military style guy. It's very strict and this is how it is. So a girl can very often, as we've seen many times over the years, form a belief that her father didn't like her.
Or favored the sister more than her.
So that's very easy to do because as a child, you can look at it and go, well, he's just being very, very demanding and clearly nothing I do matches up. So the belief can be men don't like me. The pattern, you're always trying to prove yourself in the relationship. And that is a very hard way to go when you're a woman trying to prove yourself in a relationship with a man. So one couple that we work with, Mark and Michelle from Los Angeles. Mark is a dynamic business guy. He had a few issues there in terms of the treasure that we dealt with. He was able to increase his turnover by 600% by learning those issues. But in terms of the relationship, he was in the feminine a lot of the time. And Michelle, being a little Russian firebrand, was in the masculine a lot of the time. And she looks a very petite little lady, but let me tell you, there's some fire there, Russian fire going on.
She's a Jack Russell.
She is. So he has learnt to be in the masculine with her most of the time. So, they started the work with us. They actually came to Bali and did some more events with us all the way from Los Angeles. And now 3 years later, they've got a completely different relationship. If you want to go on our website, you'll see there's some videos of them on there, testifying to what they actually got out of the event. So we get fired up when we see results like this. We get fired up in seeing families being remade. And as we've spoken about the culture, women had to step up, men changed and learned to shut down.
So you can see how we got to where we are. You can see why the divorce rate is so high.
Unfortunately high.
Yeah, because of that history.
Interestingly, just an aside, is the divorce rate before World War I and World War II was actually 10%. Immediately after World War II, it had risen to 40%. And as the 60s came about and the conversations got more confused, the divorce rate gradually rose up to about 60% where it is now. So we want to see that change, and we know it can be. And I think you guys should be convinced by now that it actually can be as well. So we've talked about the two most important states and just some of the quick differences. Men, or the masculine, want to fix things. For women, they can tell immediately when the kingdom is out of balance. Men tend to speak more about facts in the definitive terms, and she will speak about, this is how I feel when she's in her feminine, rather than when she's in her masculine, it would be like, well, you need to be doing this. You haven't done this.
A distinction there too is, you said you were going to do this and you haven't done it. It's quite a masculine comment rather than, oh, I felt disappointed when you didn't do that.
Yeah. Very
different communication style.
The stages of a relationship we took you through, and most couples invariably get to stage 5, destruction or deepen. And thankfully, you guys have chosen to deepen the relationship. Talked about whether you're a Viking, samurai, or peacemaker, which one of those ones you use. Now, recognizing that, even if you're out dating and you're putting on your best face, this will still come through at some stage in the relationship. So if you're wondering why you're single and it's breaking down, it's really good to look at these 3 formats and see how you're showing up at that particular point in the relationship when things are getting difficult. Or have you been conditioned to pull back at a certain point in the relationship, not through words, but through state, which is 93% of the communication anyway, and the other person feels it. You may feel they're pulling back from you, but I bet when you look into it deeper, you'll actually see unspoken through the state, you're pulling back, creating them to pull back. How do we change relationships? Understanding, skills, doing the work, conditioning, and understanding priorities when you're in a relationship and getting those right. Now, there are 5 very quick tools that we've shown you out of the Armoury. We have over 150 different tools in the Armoury, things that we'd love to be able to show you to take the relationship to a new and different level. So we've got 2 options that we want to show you guys that you can actually do it. So our best option is the code event itself. Now, unfortunately, right now, a lot of you guys aren't in Perth. Some of you are, and you could come to the event. And to do the code event itself, it's over 3 days, and it's long days. So we start about 8:30 in the morning. We finish about 8 o'clock at night on Friday and Saturday. Day 1, we cover all day working on the patterns and the conditioning and undoing those. So by the time we get to day 2, on the strategies and the differences between us, and day 2 is our favourite day.
It's relationship day.
Relationship day is our favourite day, talking about the relationships and the differences. And we actually do a live demonstration of what we call the code. And it's basically 5 steps that we go through. As an example, the very first step is for him to get in state and for her to speak.
It's a skill to turn arguments into conversations within 5 minutes. That's what the code does.
Yeah. And the second step in the code is for him to be able to interpret what the language actually is. And then there are 3 other steps below that we go through, and we show you that live so you can actually feel the difference. I know you're getting an understanding of the masculine and feminine, but to see it and see the effect that it can have when it's done the right way is truly miraculous.
Yeah, it's also great for the guys to experience the masculine.
Yeah.
On that weekend.
So on day 2, we do a lot of training with the guys to actually help them adjust and learn how to master that masculine state.
Because a lot of them have never experienced it or seen it from their friends or parents.
And day 3, we work on the actual conditioning finally to undo those patterns and that conditioning so you don't have to think about not doing it. It literally doesn't show up for you. In other words, it's never the event that's happening. It's never how she is. Not that you're not perfect most of the time. It's never how she's approaching me. It's about how I can deal with whatever is happening. So it's never the event. It's how we react to the event. And when we change the conditioning, that reaction doesn't show up. And yes, I know it's a lot of money. It's $1,700 if you're single, and it's $3,000 if you're a couple. I get it's a big investment. But as we often say to people, it's like you do maintenance on your car, you look after the house, why would you not put money into your actual relationship? And we have a team now of 18 facilitators. And we do that so there's a high ratio of us to our client, so we make sure you get personal attention during those 3 days.
It's life-changing, but not only that, you actually are with people who want more for themselves and they want more from their relationships. So it's like, you know, a movement where you actually make new friends and friends that want more in life, want more for themselves and for their relationship.
Now, for some of you listening, that is going to be an option. Like Roman flew from Los Angeles out to Perth to do it. We have many clients that come from the East Coast of Australia to do it. And thankfully, apparently on Monday, you won't have to quarantine for 14 days. Apparently, the government's going to
Really?
change it on Monday, announce it on Monday, which is be
Brilliant.
great. However, if for whatever reason you can't get here, we have another option for you, which is the Code Event Virtual. So we broadcast the event over Zoom. You can actually watch the entire event, except for when we go into the groups and we do the group work. You'll be able to watch everything else.
That's on the Sunday.
And it's basically 2.5 days of full-on sessions like this in a much, obviously, deeper level than we can possibly go into in a 5-day challenge. So we'd love you guys to join us on that. We know you'll get the results. We're so confident of that we offer it at that sort of price so you can really get in there. So it's $395 for a couple to be able to do the 2.5 days. So it really is awesome value. Now, we did say that we would give away one of those entries to the events to the person that participated the most. So we've carefully checked all the comments and the emails and the questions and all those things. And we're really pleased to see that that person is actually on with us live right now. So Claire, you have won the entry to the virtual event. You're able to come into the event and witness it and participate. We also do live sessions with the virtual participants as well during the event. So you'll get all of that, Claire. So congratulations.
Congratulations, Claire.
Thank you. That's great.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure. We know you're going to love it.
We'll send you an email. We'll send you all the details.
All right, thanks.
So another couple, Dion and Madeline from Orlando, they were about 6 years into their relationship, finding it very, very difficult to connect, even though they loved each other. And Dion flew all the way from Orlando to Los Angeles to do the event. And I think, you know, one of the things that we've stressed so much during the challenge, and we said in a number of emails to everybody, participation equals results. You know, when you committed to something and you put the effort in, you get the results. When we got married, we actually met doing a personal development event. When we got married, we made a commitment to each other that we'd always continue to grow.
So once a year, we go around the world and we always do like a seminar, or we always do something.
Even if it's virtually at the moment.
Yeah. And that's because that's what we believe in. You know, you maintain your car for Christ's sake and you don't maintain your relationship. It's just insane.
And the reason that we believe in anything that we do is we've tested and we've seen the results. So we don't say something if we haven't tried it ourselves, and we don't say something if we haven't seen people get results with it. So 2 is more powerful than 1. And it is gorgeous to see that a number of people have already made massive changes in the challenge. So we want to thank everyone for being here. If you haven't yet joined Relationship Warrior Code group on Facebook, please do. Marie and I do what we like to call kitchen talks, which is about a 5-minute talk with tools and tips every single week, and post up a lot of other good content in that group. So please feel free to join it. We've also got a great podcast on virtually any platform you want to have a look at in terms of podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Google Music, etc. We're on all those platforms, and you just need to look up Relationship Warrior Code. We do a podcast about every 2 to 3 weeks on there, and I think we were up to nearly 100 podcasts
all different topics.
Yeah.
I think there's one there I did on the feminine, which is really worth for the ladies to have a listen to.
Yeah, but nothing beats you know, doing the work. So we would love to see you. If you can't make it for whatever reason, please come into the virtual event. We know you'll love it. We know you get great results out of it. So lastly, as always, any questions, guys, that you might have for us? This is your last opportunity to pump us. We're here for you right now, so please unmute yourself and ask us anything you like, whether it's dating or it's communication or it's kids, treasury, it doesn't matter. We're more than happy to answer the question.
There's also there's a great podcast we done on, you know, stepkids, because that's another dynamic.
Yeah. Kathy, yes, we will post the link to the podcast in the group itself, Kathy. So if you check in the group, you'll see the links there to at least the Apple podcast. There's too many others to post up.
Thank you,
What
guys.
dates of the seminar? Joe was asking that question.
Um,
Joe, in Australia, Perth time, the seminar commences on the 19th at 8:30 or 9 o'clock Western Standard Time.
So it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it's 3 full days.
Yeah.
Full days. You know, we work.
It's
First
all
2
day.
days, yeah, we work until the night.
They will also be fully recorded, and you will be able to watch them if you have to work or you miss portion of them or whatever.
It's also a tax deduction for those people who run their own business.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
even if you're single, you can
Yeah.
actually claim it as education. So,
Yeah.
what else? My mic isn't working, so I had to place in chat. That's okay, Shannon. Thank you. Shannon, my partner, and I made an agreement to meet once a week and talk about anything, but I feel like every time we do, I'm making him sit through torture. Any tips on making this less painful for him?
Shannon, you know what women often do wrong on a date night is they take the opportunity to dump everything and talk about all the crap. And the poor guy's sitting there thinking, like, I don't even want to take her on a date. So you need to, keep that separate. Like a date night is for fun and dreaming. You know, one of what we talk about in the code is couples have forgot to dream. And we teach people to dream again. But make it very clear with him and balance that out with dreaming and connecting to having the forbidden conversation, because you don't want every time you get him in the car, you dump the forbidden conversations on him, or you don't want every time you go out on a date or have time alone, you're dumping those conversations.
Yep.
So you really need to balance that, and you need to begin the dreaming as well.
And Shannon, one of the things to realise is, even with the best of intent, often you can be having that conversation out of the masculine, even though you don't mean to, and you feel that you're not. Often women say, I don't understand why he's not responding to me. I'm in my feminine. And we get that, but then when we watch them actually do it, she's actually in her masculine still. And she doesn't mean to be, and she's trying very hard to be in a feminine. But in terms of structure of the language, there's a difference in the feminine too, because often women will be very demanding about what's going on in the kingdom instead of expressing emotionally what they need. So it's never about the topic. Underneath the topic for a woman, it's an emotional need she has. It's not about the money. It's about that they're not working on the money together. Is the real thing that he needs to hear. And when he hears that, rather than if he hears it from the masculine, it's about, we don't have enough money, he feels like, I'm supposed to do something about that. No, he's not. When he hears it's about the need to do it together, that's something he can deal with. Now he knows how to deal with her on that. So it's that missyncing of communication that can often come up when we haven't had enough training in how to do it. So that's really important. Now, Kat, I think it was, asked, so how do people who've done your training go when they date someone that hasn't done the training? Well, a great question, Kat. So firstly, as Marie said, women often come to this first.
And also when you do the work, you're working from a whole different vibration, that you're attracting someone from a whole different vibration. Yeah.
So in other words, you'll attract someone who's more in alignment with wanting to do the work, open to doing the work, because that's who you want to attract. Because if you go into a relationship with someone, male or female, who's just like, nah, I'm lazy, I don't want to do any work on the relationship, you go do whatever you want to do, you do the work on it, that is never going to work long term. You will just be unhappy in that relationship.
But
relationships either grow or they die, Kat, one of the two. But if you're looking to help him open up to it, I'd just start very simply by explaining some of the very simple principles and some of the differences. I was on this really cool 5-day challenge the other day, and these are the things that I learned about men and women. I found it really interesting. Are you interested in that stuff? And that'll be a clue. That'll be a clue.
But when you be that change, it's amazing then what you attract.
Sorry, so we see each other more than that, but we are both avoidant. So decided to be intentional about once a week to work on connecting and raising everything.
Great, great.
Be careful, Shannon, with that he feels like, and often we see this dynamic between men and women. If the state's not quite right, he's going to feel like you don't accept him how he is and you're trying to change him. So we have a saying in Relationship Warrior: love them so they can change, not change them so you can love them. What that means is letting him know, that he's loved, that you love him, and that you do accept him as it is, but that it can be better for both of you. That this is not all about him having to change. It's about both of you growing and changing. And that's, again, it's not just in the words.
Joe, before you come to the seminar, there's a massive questionnaire with deep questions. So we need you to spend time, answering those.
Yeah.
Before you come to the seminar.
Yeah, Joe was actually just asking that question. Is there pre-work before the seminar?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Joe, once you actually enroll in the event, either the virtual event or the actual live event, you get an email from us with all the logistics, but you also get a series of 4 videos from us, pre-work plus a questionnaire. It's about a 5-page questionnaire to fill out to prep you for the event, so you get the most from it.
It's life-changing. It really does take life to a whole new level.
It does.
Because Ricky was just curious if, what was it you had asked?
Do you have to be a certain level, to understand or go there? Or, I'm not going to be fish out of water there. So I was just wondering, is there work I could do before to sort of catch up to speed or get up to speed? Because I know I'm a long way behind, but
You're not that far behind, mate. To be honest, we've had guys rock up that have done nothing. The lady's into it, and she's ecstatic that he's coming, and he rocks up arms crossed, sitting in the back of the room, going, "What's this shit? Right? What the hell are you trying to do here?" But we've obviously dealt with guys now, for 25 years.
And Ricky, it's fun. There's a lot of fun there.
We have a good laugh.
We laugh. You'll not laugh so hard, and you'll meet people there that become your friends, and they're closer to you than any of your friends at the moment. So it is fun. It is a full-on weekend, but there's a lot of laughs. So
the next event, we limit them to 50 people. So there are 47 signed up at the moment.
Yes.
And normally, Ricky, we get 50-50. It's about half guys, some single guys too, half guys, half girls. And some of the guys come in and they're just whatever. On day 1, they very quickly get up to speed. And on day 2, when we do the masculine stuff, in terms of showing them state, understanding what it is to get to that place, they're on board, because just like you, mate, as guys, we want to love them. We want to be loved by them. And when we get that priority right, that she is the most important thing in our life, when she can feel that, the reward that we get from that is huge. It's massive. Right now, for you to truly feel that Joe is going to give all of herself to you will be huge. And as a man what I mean by that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you said it was pricey, but I don't think you can put a price on your marriage. So
do you know, Ricky, we get that all the time.
No, you can't.
You're right.
Not after you've been through a divorce. It's it's too painful.
You'd pay that one day lawyer's fees.
So Kat's asking, when's the next event? Kat, we do them about every 2 months. So the next one's at the end of April, 30th of April. And then about 2 months after that. We have another higher level event that we do in Bali, which is called the Kingdom event. And we also run a couple other events as well. But the actual code event, we do about every 2.5 months.
They do fill up, so you do need to book in advance.
Yeah, given COVID and we're all stuck here in
Yeah.
Australia, the events are full every time.
Yeah.
So
But what we'll do is we'll put the date of the event up on the. We can do that, can't we?
yeah,
On the feed
it's
as
also
well.
up on the website, guys. So if you haven't looked at the website, it's relationshipwarrior.org. And the event dates, etc., are always put up on there. And we normally put up, how many seats are still remaining, etc., there too. So if you do want to attend the event, either the virtual or the actual code event, let us know after this, and we will text you a link where you can go and sign up. The moment you do enroll, you get the videos, etc. If you sign up to the code event virtual right now, you also get our online series of videos. There's about 5 more videos of education. So Ricky, that'll be perfect for you, mate. You can watch all those as well. And you also get a free coaching session, which Ricky and Joe won in this anyway. But that's all included in the $395 as well. Any other questions? Which of these things do you need to do to change things? Learn new skills, learn to change mistake, remove conditioning. Well, that was embarrassing. Can you delete? No, Kat, unfortunately, we can't delete.
I don't know how to either, so.
But yes, you need to do all 3 of those things anyway.
So guys,
So any other questions? How often do you run the event? We've answered them all. Okay, guys, thank you so much for being here in the challenge. We really appreciated working with all of you. It's great to get to know your faces. It's really been brilliant for us, and we really hope you guys have enjoyed it as well. So thanks so much for being here, and we hope to see you somewhere in the future, and stay with us because it is definitely worth the journey.
it really is. Good night.
Thanks, guys.
We're going out for dinner.
Yes. We're going to celebrate our anniversary. Take care to all of you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye now.